The rain had a way of unearthing memories Emily Carter thought she had buried long ago. It was a soft, persistent drizzle that afternoon, the kind that painted the streets in shimmering silver and filled the air with the faint scent of damp earth. Inside her small, cozy bookstore, the paper lantern, the world felt insulated from the chill. The shop was a haven of wooden shelves stacked with well-loved books, the kind with worn spines and dog-eared pages. She sat behind the counter, sipping tea from a chipped blue mug, letting the sound of rain against the windows lull her into a peaceful daze. That peace shattered when the doorbell chimed, letting in a gust of wind and the scent of rain. A young postman, drenched to the bone, stepped inside. His cheeks were flushed from the cold, and water dripped from the brim of his cap. "Miss Emily Carter?" he asked, his voice respectful but tinged with curiosity. She nodded, and he handed her an envelope. It was thin, its paper yellowed with age, edges curling as if it had traveled a long, uncertain road. Her brow furrowed. Letters were rare these days, replaced by emails and instant messages, but this one felt like it carried a weight beyond its appearance. Then she saw the handwriting, the neat, deliberate strokes that were etched into her memory. The sender's name in the top left corner hit her like a physical blow, Daniel Hayes. For a heartbeat, the shop, the rain, and even her own breath seemed to vanish. Her fingers tightened on the envelope, and she sank into the worn leather armchair by the window. The name alone was enough to unravel her composure. It had been 20 years since she last saw him, 20 years since the platform goodbye that had sliced her heart in two. The scene rushed back with painful clarity, Daniel's figure standing tall yet hesitant, his hand raised in farewell, his eyes holding a promise that life had stolen before it could be fulfilled. She swallowed hard, feeling her chest tighten. She didn't stop. The rain was steady as Emily made her way through the quiet streets, the city wrapped in a soft gray haze. She passed familiar storefronts, their windows glowing warmly against the gloom, but her eyes were fixed ahead. Each step felt like walking backward through time. The letter was warm in her coat pocket, her fingers brushing it every so often, as though to make sure it was real. She hadn't been to the old train station in years, not since it had been all but abandoned when the new central terminal opened. When she finally turned the corner and saw it, her breath caught. The building stood weathered and worn, its once bright paint faded and peeling. The clock above the entrance had stopped at some forgotten hour. Pushing open the heavy wooden doors, she stepped into a cavernous, echoing silence. The air smelled faintly of dust and rainwater that had seeped through the cracks. She made her way toward the platform, her footsteps sounding unnaturally loud. And there it was, the bench. Old, chipped, and lonely, but unmistakable. The sight of it hit her like a physical force, and for a moment she just stood there, letting the memories wash over her. She could almost see the two of them, 20 years younger, clinging to each other in the golden morning light, his promise lingering in the air. She sat down slowly, running her fingers along the worn wood. It was then she noticed something, a small, carved inscription on the backrest, hidden beneath layers of peeling paint. She leaned closer, brushing it gently with her fingertips. The letters were faint but still legible, D+E, forever. A sob caught in her throat. He had carved it, she was sure of it. The sound of footsteps pulled her from her reverie. She turned, half expecting, half hoping, to see Daniel walking toward her. But instead, it was a man in his late 40s, tall and slightly stooped, with a face that seemed vaguely familiar. He paused when he saw her. "Are you Emily Carter?" he asked cautiously. She nodded.